Hello everyone, and welcome to my third Java tutorial. Today we're going to go over some basic Java theory. We're also going to make our first Java program. So to start with, open the project that we made during the last tutorial. Make sure you're in Project View, which you can shift to by going to this drop-down and clicking on Project. Then, if you come to this source folder and click on it, and then either press Alt-N on your keyboard, or right-click on the folder, go to New, and Java class. In an object-oriented languages such as Java, objects can represent real-world entities like a person, or they can represent, for instance, data structures, which store data in a specific way. So these are blueprints for objects. Objects can have a state and they can have behavior. For instance, if we had a person, it could have an age, and it could have a behavior such as public, void, walk. And the code in here would make the person simulate a walk, for example. Now this is what we call a variable, which just refers to a space in memory that has a value stored in it. In this case, 23. So this is a variable. And specifically, this is also a field or a member of this class. Which means that, for instance, if we instantiate an object of this class, this age, if we also make it public, will be accessible. And then we have this method. A method defines a behavior, basically. For example, let's say for whatever reason you walked for a year, then perhaps every time you walk, your age could go up by 1. This again can be called from outside this particular class, when this class is instantiated in another class, for example, in which case we would have an object of this class. When you instantiate a class, you have an object of that class. Now let's move on to actually making our program. If you type in psvm and then press tab, you'll get this method declaration. Now the method declaration refers to this line here, and the method declaration contains a bunch of information that anything that might be calling this method would need to know. For example, another class in this project, in this program, or perhaps a different program altogether. The information included in the method declaration is split up into the signature, which includes the name, which in this case is main, and the parameters, which are what is passed to this method. In this case, we have an array of strings called args. You don't have to worry about that too much, but this is the data type of the parameter. This is the name of the parameter. And a string is a string of characters, which can just be anything pretty much. This is the access modifier, which in this case is public. That means it can be accessed from anywhere, including outside of the class from another program. This is the static keyword, which means that regardless of whether you instantiate an object of this class, you'll always be calling the same method that's associated with this class, not with any particular instance of the class. Void is the return type. A return type is a data type, again, for example, like string or an array of strings, that indicates what you'll get from this method. Void is just means that it's not going to return anything. And I am sort of skimming over some of these. I will go into more detail when necessary, but this is just an overview. Now the JVM, which is the Java Virtual Machine, looks for this particular method declaration, not just the signature, but this entire declaration, as the starting point to your program. So when you run your program, after it's been compiled, which I'll get onto in just a bit, the JVM will look specifically for this, and it will execute this method first. Now, compiling is when, in the case of Java, the code, this human readable code that we have here, is transformed into something called bytecode, Java bytecode, which is sort of an intermediate representation. It's an intermediary between what we understand and what the machine understands. And by machine, I mean the hardware. For instance, the hardware is sent binary, and the Java virtual machine interprets bytecode into instructions in binary for your CPU, for instance. But the important thing is the Java virtual machine, after this has been compiled, after your program has been compiled into bytecode, the Java virtual machine takes that bytecode and it looks for this method as the entry point to your program. Now, if we move over into this main method and we press Ctrl J on our keyboard and then type in sout, we get this line of code. Here, system is a class. Out is a static member of this class, a public static member of this class. And recall how I said static means the member or method can be accessed without instantiating the class. So in this case, we don't have an object of system, we just have the class. Out is a member of system that itself is an object of the printstream class. And printstream is just used for printing, in this case, to the console. Printline is a method of out, of printstream even, that we use to pass a string to. So in this case, we can see string x is the parameter, and the string that we pass to this method, once we run our program, will be printed into the console, which we have right here. So, for example, if I type in hello world, we can then run our program, which there are a few ways of doing. If you click this green arrow or press Shift F10 to have the same effect, or if that's grayed out, you can come over to your Java class, right click it, and click run your Java class .main, or you can press Ctrl Shift F10. I'm just going to press Shift F10, and as you can see, we have printed hello world to the console. And I think we can just about conclude this video there. I hope this was a helpful introduction to Java, and I should be releasing more videos on the subject soon. Thanks for watching. See you next time.